Back to the It's Too Easy podcast. I'm Zach, and this is my brother Jake. Ready for the playoffs for the Final Four of college football, and we're going to dive into the first round for the NFL. So, Jake, kick us off. Which game of college are we starting with?
Yeah, so CFB down to the last four teams. We'll start off with Indiana and Oregon. Um, yeah, I mean, this is a super interesting game. Obviously, we've already seen this game once at the earlier part of the season with Indiana going into Eugene and winning by 10. Oregon did have quite a few self-inflicted wounds of that game, lost the battle of the line of scrimmage on both offensive and defensive side of the ball. And they've been looking a lot better towards the end of the year. But we just got word that Jordan Davison is going to be out for Oregon. And I think that's going to play a big factor in this game. I think he's kind of been our bowling ball of a running back when we need him on big, third and threes and fourth and fours and stuff like that. He's been a good outlet for us and allows us to mix up the play calling a lot. And without him, I think we're going to be missing a lot of that. We have our speedster in DR Hill, and hopefully Whittington will be able to kind of fill that void, and he's been great for us as well. But I think we're just going to be missing that a little bit too much in this game. I imagine that's going to be a game one at the line of scrimmage. And with the way both teams are playing, it's really tough to tell who's going to win. But Indiana winning 38-3 against Bama, I just couldn't go against Indiana when I saw they were only 3.5-point favorites. They already beat us by 10 at home. So I'll buy it down to 2.5 and take Indiana for sure in this game. I expect it to be a close one, but I think that in the end, they'll likely end up winning by 10-14 again, if not maybe a little bit more, unless our defense really steps up the way it did against Texas Tech. But Texas Tech's quarterback and offense is not nearly as explosive as Indiana's and has the playmaking ability. So yeah, I just don't see a world in which Indiana really loses this game. And I do think, though, that this game, I mean, whoever wins is going to likely win the natty. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, very intrigued to see how this rematch goes. We always talk about it. It's insane to beat a team twice. It's almost impossible to do in college football. And so this would be the ultimate challenge for Indiana to beat Oregon again. They already did it in Autzen, which was a very good game. Oregon missed a field goal and then had two picks on the final two drives, which ended up costing them with a chance that would have made it closer. So it ended up being a 10-point loss. But Indiana played perfect in that game. I don't expect the same to happen, so I think it should be interesting. Again, it's going to be dependent on the Oregon defense to see who shows up. Is it going to be a team that gave up, 34 in the second half to JMU, or is it going to be the one that shut out Texas Tech? And
Yep.
I think if they can hold Indiana to under 24, I think they'll have a good chance to win this football game. I think that's probably going to be the threshold. Whoever gets there first is going to end up winning this game. I imagine that almost everyone's going to be on Indiana after watching them wax Alabama, who we talked about it before. That was the one team, if not one of two teams, I thought shouldn't have been in the playoff. Would have rather seen a Notre Dame or even a BYU, something along those lines. So I don't know. Kurt's got that team balling. They're really disciplined, don't turn over the ball very much, and everyone knows their role. And I love seeing the MVP go to the offensive line for that last game as well. So I think that's just really motivating for them to keep doing it, keep winning the line of scrimmage, which they've been doing all season long. So it's hard to see a world where Indiana doesn't win again. But I am going to take Oregon. I'm going to expect to live bet it. I know the line's right around that 4 mark. I think at some point during the game, probably both teams will have a lead. So if you like Indiana, you might wait to see Oregon go up 3 or 7. If you like Indiana, you might, or if you like Oregon, you might take like a plus 10 if they go down 7-0 to Indiana early. So I like plus 4. I'm probably going to take it up plus 4.5, but I'll probably look to find a live bet around 7.5 to 10. I think Oregon does keep it close.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be the game of the year for sure, and I think whoever wins that game will likely end up winning the natty. Then we got the other side of the bracket. We got Ole Miss and Miami. Ole Miss obviously lost Lane Kiffin. They've just been balling these first 2 weeks in the playoff. Been pretty impressive to watch. But they just announced that all 6 of the coaches that Lane had on his staff are going to leave and go to LSU with him. So I don't know exactly what their coaching staff is going to look like for this game. And I think that's going to play a big factor against a Miami defense that's looked really good in the last few games and towards the end of the season. I think Miami got the perfect playoff scenario with the fact that they didn't have to play in the ACC championship game. They got that extra week off and then got to play in the first round. I think that ended up working out really well for them and allowed them to carry some momentum against that Ohio State team. And they really shut them out on the defensive side of the ball. And It was pretty impressive to watch. So I'm going to take Miami money line in this game just because I am a little bit questionable on Ole Miss's coaching situation. I think that coaching is going to play a huge factor in this game. And I know Cristobal is likely going to have this defense playing really good football. So I expect it to be a pretty defensive game with probably a few major explosives that are going to make the difference. So with that in mind, I'll just stick with Miami money line. And I'm thinking that this Miami defense is going to be able to get a couple turnovers.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this football game. I have no idea what's going to happen. I think Ole Miss is who I'd probably be rooting for had they not just lost the extra 6 coaches. Obviously, that's not their decision. That's Lane's being a bum per usual. He's watching them win without him, and he feels like it's going to show that they don't need him. So now he's taking 6 other guys with him before they play a semifinal game in Lane fashion, which I think is kind of a disgrace. So I don't really know what's going to happen with Ole Miss. I think that they're going to have some small errors here or there just because you have the O coordinator that's going to be head coaching for the game, and so there's some things that he'll probably not know or miss that he's not had to pay attention to before. Cristobal's had that team playing really well. They're pretty solid on the defensive end, and they've been pounding the rock with the line of scrimmage. Mark Fletcher's been a dog, and Carson Beck has been there against Ole Miss twice in his career. The first one they smoked him by 30. The second one they lost by 18. So he's been on both sides. More recent being the loss, so I think he's going to come out still thinking about that loss that they had with Georgia when he was there, and he's going to get revenge. I do like Miami on the money line, but I am kind of rooting for Ole Miss in heart.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to end up rooting for Ole Miss, but it's just hard to take a team that has no coaches left. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens in that game. Hopefully, it'll be a defensive game like I'm expecting. But yeah, that'll do it for college football. We'll get back to you probably next week on the Natty with round 2 of the NFL playoffs as well. But let's transition right over to NFL. First game, the NFL playoffs. We got the Rams and the Panthers. That game's going to be in Carolina. Good for the Panthers, end up making the playoff after losing to the Bucks. Get some help from the Falcons, and they'll get a home game, which is a pretty big deal here. Obviously, the Rams are still 10.5-point favorites in this game, so that a lot of people are kind of on the same page that I am. I think the Rams are the much better team. But just with the way the Rams defense has been playing in the past few weeks, I think it's been quite suspect, especially in the secondary where they're super young. So I think this game's going to come down to a lot and see how accurate Bryce Young can throw the ball. I expect the Rams front 7 to be locked down. I don't expect them to allow Carolina to run the ball at all. And on the flip side, I think the Rams offense is going to have a much better chance to score points in this game. So I do think the Rams are definitely a reasonable favorite, but 10.5 feels like a lot. So I'm going to end up buying it down to 6.5 and just taking the Rams there. I do think they're going to be able to get a lot of things together in this game. I imagine Puka's going to have a big game. They're going to be able to run the ball. And I think this front 4 for the Rams is going to be able to get after it. So I'll stick with the Rams minus 6.5.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned, being able to run the ball is going to be the biggest thing for this game. Sean McVay knows that his, other star receiver in Devontae Adams is going to be coming back, but he isn't going to want to rush him into it. So I think that it's going to start with winning the line of scrimmage, which all playoff games go that way. He's got the experience to know that. So they're going to want to win on the offensive and defensive line. I expect Kyron to have a big game and be able to score. Having Puka and Devontae is going to be helpful, but I don't expect too much out of at least Devontae. I'm sure Puka will get his. But as a revenge game, they obviously lost at the bank 4 or 5 weeks ago, probably. Carolina's been a lot better at home. I believe they were 5-3 this season. And they've been fun to watch. I'm glad that they made it into the playoffs despite losing last week to the Bucks, 8-9. I mean, there's other teams that could have made the playoffs that probably would put up a better fight, but I'm glad it's at least a rematch. I had talked about it when they did play that it was a lot of points for a road team going 5 to 6 hours to the East Coast in a morning game. This one's a little bit different. This one's going to be 4:30 in the afternoon East Coast time, 1:30 Pacific time. So I don't think that's going to affect the Rams as much as it did in the first matchup. I do think that they're going to come away with a win. I kind of expect it to be big. I could see double digits. It is a big line. So I like buying it down to that 6.5-point line. Or even if you like taking a money line, I think you can combine that with a Kyron touchdown and you'll get just as good value as well.
Yeah, right on. That'll be a fun game. And got to mention the fact that if the Falcons didn't lose to the Jets earlier in the year, it'd be the Falcons in the playoffs. So what a crazy division for that one, the NFC South. Moving on, we got the Packers and the Bears meeting up for the 3rd time this season. It's split so far 1-1. The Packers, I believe, won pretty handily in the first game. And the Bears in the second game had a nice comeback win at home. And it's back in Chicago in this game. Packers are 1.5-point favorites. They have Josh Jacobs back. They have a healthier Jordan Love, but they are missing a Micah Parsons. So I think this is going to come down to what kind of defense we're going to get from the Packers. The Bears have been pretty suspect on defense the last few weeks, and we kind of talked about that opening the year, that we think that could be where their fall is, because they clearly have a lot of weapons and a very talented offense with a very good offensive coach in Ben Johnson. So I don't think the Bears offense is going to be where the problem might come in this game. I'd imagine it's going to be the defense. But with it being in Chicago, I imagine they're going to be fired up. So I'm going to take the Bears plus 3.5. I think they'll find ways to get Jordan Love to struggle and manage to keep Josh Jacobs under, 60, 70 yards. And if they do that, I think they have a really good shot to win this game, or at least keep it close. I know the line's at 1.5 right now in favor of the Packers, so I'll buy it up to 3.5, take the Bears. I would love to see the Bears and the Broncos in the Super Bowl, so only way to start with it is to get this win.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this rematch. The last time that they played, it was 16-6 with 3 minutes left in the game. Packers were up 10, and they blew it and ended up losing. That was with Malik Willis in the game instead of Jordan Love, who went down early. Malik Willis had a hell of a game until the fourth quarter when he couldn't get enough going. So it'll be interesting. The first one, Packers did win. It ended up being a 7-point win, but they were kind of ahead for the most part that whole game. It seemed like in control. So yeah, splitting. In the last 20 games at Soldier Field in this matchup, the Packers are 15-5. Now that a lot of that was under Aaron Rodgers, who always owned the Bears, and Jordan Love kind of took over at that same spot. He's going to be back. I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but I know LaFleur's been there, and I think his job's on the line. I think if they lose, he's going to be cooked, and he'll be the next one cut to go along with the other 7 that we've already seen lose their jobs to start the offseason for many teams. And so with that, I'm going to take the Packers on the money line. I think Josh Jacobs, like you said, Bears are going to be able to put up a fight if they can hold him under 3.5 a carry. I think that'll be really interesting. One of my favorite plays for this game as well is going to be under 47. I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game. You got two teams. Ben Johnson being run first. He loves Kyle. He loves Swift. And so having both of them run the rock is going to be big for them if the Packers want to win. We saw what they did 2 years ago against the Cowboys. They started it off by pounding the rock on 8 of the first 11 plays, got a touchdown, started with the lead. I think it's going to be something similar where there's a lot of running going on. So I think an underplay could be on the table. But I'm going to take the Packers on the money line, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Then we got the Chargers and the Patriots. This is another really, really intriguing game. Patriots have been great this season, 14-3. Just missed out on the 1 seed to the Broncos after a tiebreaker that went to a loss versus Las Vegas. So yeah, this is week 1 loss. Go figure. But I think this is a great start for the Patriots. Like, if you got to choose a team to play in the first round, why not play this Chargers team that's very banged up on the offensive line still. Still don't have your best 2 offensive tackles. So I think that this will be a good little warm-up game for them, and they can prove that, if we deserve to be here, we definitely need to win this game. And this can get them in rhythm for sure going deeper into the playoffs. With that being said, I love Justin Herbert, and I know they're 4.5-point dogs in this one. I expect this Chargers defense to be humming as well. I expect this to be another very defensive game with a lot of field goals, and it's just going to be a matter of which defense is going to make plays against the opposing quarterback. Herbie has been turnover prone this year, but granted, you got to take into account the fact that he's not had a great offensive line for the majority of the year. So I'm very curious to kind of see where this game goes. I really hope the Chargers can make a bit of a run here later in the playoffs, but so far it hasn't worked out for them since Herbie's been there. So really hoping that defense can really step up and keep everybody healthy and manage to make some plays against Drake May and this fireproof offense. They've been incredible to watch. Drake May's, I think, been the best downfield passer this year, and I imagine he's going to win the regular season MVP. So very curious to see where this game goes. I will take the Chargers plus 4.5. I do think that likely the Patriots will win this game, but I could see it being by 3 or 4 points. So I'll stick with it there.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I don't think Herbert's got a win in the playoffs yet. I know that he lost the one to the Jaguars years back, and then in his last playoff game, he had 5 interceptions. So I think that's going to be fresh in his mind. I know Harbaugh's going to know that, and so he's going to want a huge answer to bounce back with that. Going to be difficult against a solid defense, especially
Yep.
with, you mentioned, two all-pro linemen that they've been missing all year in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. Is a huge blow for them. Outside of that, they are getting a lot of health back. I think all the defensive starters are expected to play. Omarion Hampton's been coming back into his own the last couple of weeks. Keenan, Ladd, Quentin are all going to be playing. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see who shows up for the Chargers. They are 32nd in pass protection for Herbert, so he's gotten the worst line pass protection wise all year. They're 25th in rushing as well. So the offensive line's been an issue, but they still found a way to get to 11 wins with resting starters in that final week. I think Harbaugh knows that it's going to be a slow, methodical game, and you're going to do a lot of punts, so probably a lower scoring game. Again, you said field goals. I think that's going to be big, and Dicker's, an all-pro, so he missed one that was critical for him a couple of weeks ago against the Texans, and I think that he'll have a pretty good game. I do like the Chargers. I think that they're going to win the game. So I'm going to take them at that plus 4.5 as well. It's going to be the first playoff game for Drake May with the Patriots, obviously in his young NFL career. So we'll see how it goes for him. They've been really good at running the football, but splitting carries between Travion and Ramondre with some injuries here and there, missing a game or two. Diggs has had a lot of offseason issues going on in the last couple of weeks, so I don't know if that'll be a distraction or not. Maybe it's a better reason for him to ball out. I'm not too sure. But going to be a really interesting game. I think both of these teams, both coaches know that they're big run first and good defensive teams. And so I could see another under going into this one. I don't think there's going to be a lot of sling in it because we do have two good defenses and pretty solid run games on both sides of the ball. So I like the Chargers. Herbie's got to get one eventually. And I think in a year where he's under Harbaugh for the second time, they should be able to go out there and put up at least a good fight to win it. So I like the plus 4.
Yeah, right on. Then we move on. We got the Bills and the Jags. Game that surprises us because the Bills are favored, I believe, on the road here in Jacksonville by 1.5 points. Jacksonville's on a 7-game win streak. Trevor Lawrence has been phenomenal, surprisingly, this year. They've gotten a lot of pieces. They added Tim Patrick. Parker Washington's been awesome in the void of Brian Thomas having a bit of an off year. And I think Brian Thomas could end up being a very valuable trade asset for them with the production he's had this year. So I imagine this team's just going to continue to get better and better, getting Hunter back from the IL as well. It's going to be really important for them. But they're still hot. Their defense is humming these last 7 weeks. They've been pretty impressive. And I expect the Jaguars to keep this a fight. And I'd imagine that's why it's only at 1.5. But I'm going to take the Jags at plus 3.5 in this game. They're at home. They've got a lot going for them right now with the momentum. And I think the Bills' defense is suspect at best this year. So in a season where you don't have the Chiefs in the playoffs to take them out, I think everybody's thinking it's got to be the Bills' year. But with how suspect this defense has been this year, we've been saying it over and over again. This defense could lose them a game in the playoffs that we aren't expecting, and I think this could very well be it. So I'll take Jacksonville plus 3.5. It's hard to go against Josh Allen just because he's Josh Allen, and in the playoffs he's been incredible so far in his career, and it does feel like it is about that time that he goes and gets one. But I just see it being a tough process with not that many weapons on the offensive side of the ball and a defense that's kind of been failing you throughout the season. So I'll stick with Jacksonville plus 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to hop on Jacksonville plus 3.5 as well. I might even buy it to 4 just because it feels like maybe they go up 3, and then the Bills go get a touchdown to end the game on the last possession, lose by 4. So I think 4 is a safe play. It's in Jacksonville. Duval County, they're all going to show up and support Liam Cohen. He's been asking for everyone and their grandma to pull up for it. And to get that place going, they're going to need everything that they can get. I think this game's going to come down to who runs the football better and who's not turning the ball over is going to be helpful for it as well. I know that in his last 5 games with the Bills, they averaged 33 points per game in the playoffs since getting there. Since getting to Buffalo in the playoffs, he's got 25 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So we know what's coming on that side. We don't from Trevor Lawrence, who hasn't had a lot of playoff experience quite yet in his young career. But he's been really hot as of late. They've been running the football really well with ETN. Their defense has been stellar, unlike the Bills. So I like the Jags to cover 4. I'm probably going to be rooting for the Bills because that was my AFC Championship game, was them being in it to start the year. But I wouldn't be mad seeing Liam Cohen take a young Jags team and having no Lamar, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, or Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship would be pretty fun. Letting the young quarterbacks go at it and potentially have to compete with a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. We'll get there later. But yeah, so I like Jacksonville. I don't love it because the Bills have been phenomenal offensively in the playoffs under Josh Allen. But they also continuously have lost because their defense has let them down. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the same case this year.
Yeah. And quick touch on Liam Cohen. I think it's either got to be him or Ben Johnson for Coach of the Year. Just dramatic turnaround from last year to this year.
Or Vrabel.
Yeah, Vrabel as well. One of those three. I mean, they've got to be the top of the conversation. I get people asking for Shanahan with that second string managing to do so well. McDonald's been good. But, just being able to turn around these young teams, add vets, and add key players to keep these teams into the playoffs, I think specifically those three coaches deserve a real shout-out for what they've been able to do this year. So, yep, big shout-out, Liam Cohen. Then we got the 49ers and the Eagles. Eagles, I believe, are 3.5 or 4.5 point favorites in this game. I think it's 4.5. Very interesting game. We've been talking all year about kind of how the Eagles offense has not really been clicking and their defense has been kind of holding them afloat so far this season. And with the way this 49ers offense has been playing, I could see this being a ginormous problem for the Eagles because the Niners could easily go up 10 early in this game, and it's going to be trouble for the Eagles to fight back against a Niners defense that is missing a few key pieces in Bosa and Warner, but Warner is looking to come back. I don't know if that's this week. But I'm not sure how fresh he'll be or if he'll be on a snap count. But this Niners defense can still get after you. And with the way their offense has been playing the last few weeks, other than the Seattle game the last week, they've been really good. So if Purdy shows up and plays well, I could easily see the Niners covering 4.5. I probably won't buy it up in this game. I'm just going to take the Niners there at plus 4.5. I think they're going to want some revenge for that NFC Championship game a few years back. And I know they've gotten it once. I believe, if there's a team to beat the Eagles, it's going to be the Niners. So I'll take the Niners plus 4.5, trying to get further on in these playoffs. I'm interested to see kind of how Fred Warner performs, if he's going to be back, and what kind of snap count he's going to get. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt. That's going to be interesting to see what the offense does for the Niners because we know that their defense has been Swiss cheese. But now they're going against, the 16th best offense in the league this year with the Eagles. Which is insane given the weapons that they have on the field. It almost feels like after the Super Bowl, they went an extra month compared to every other team. It seems like they maybe been easing into it throughout the course of the season, just trying to make it to the playoffs healthy. So we'll see if that's the case against the Niners, because if they can't put up points against them, it's not going to look good for them in the following rounds. I do know that in 4 games for Kyle Shanahan against Fangio's defense, they're averaging 11 points in those 4 games. The most they've scored in any of them is 15. And the Eagles' defense is in the top 5 in almost every statistical category this season. Quietly been getting it done, getting them up to, I think it's 12 wins, if I'm not mistaken, while sitting out the last week and losing to the Commanders, which they easily should have won as well. So Eagles team, I think, is really the biggest threat. Sleeper team, I think, in the entire playoff picture right now is no one really has them winning. I think they're the 4th favorite or 5th favorite. And yet they're the defending champs with an offense that's loaded and a defense that's gotten it done for them all season long. So I do like the Eagles to win. I was originally leaning on a 3-point line. I know it did move to 4.5. So I think I'm going to stick with it at that 3-point line and maybe even take it at 2.5. That way we both have a chance to win at that 3 to 4 range. So I'll go Eagles minus 2.5. Being at home, I think that's going to be a big help for them. Interested to see what offense comes to play.
Yeah, for sure. And then we got the final game of the NFL playoffs, round 1. We got the Texans and the Steelers. Super intrigued by this game. I've been going back and forth, just not really sure exactly what I'm going to do for this game. But for now, I'm set on the Texans minus 1.5. I believe that's right where the line is, or it might be 2.5 or 3. But it's in Pittsburgh, so it's going to be an interesting game to kind of see what the weather's like. Houston's been on a massive run to close out the season. I personally believe they have the best defense in the entire NFL, especially the secondary. And then the front 4 has just been absolutely getting after everybody. So Having a healthy CJ Stroud, kind of figuring out who his weapons are through these last 7 games. Hopefully the offense will be able to figure it out, because I don't think the Steelers' defense is anything special. But I think we're going to need to see something special from Aaron Rodgers against this defense in order for the Steelers to get a win here. And I don't know if he's still got it at 42, especially in the playoffs against the number 1 defense. But man, I can't wait to watch it. For now, I'll stick with the Texans -1.5, but I'm definitely taking that with a grain of salt. Definitely might look to live bet this game and see kind of what happens there. But I'm really just looking forward to watching this one, because I think these are 2 teams that are also just kind of slept on so far in the AFC side. Steelers obviously got into the playoffs on a walk-off field goal miss, and the Texans have had to win 7 straight to get there. So pretty interesting to kind of see what will happen here. But for now, I'll just stick with the Texans -1.5.
Yeah, Texans have now won 9 straight, and I was looking at Jags have won 8 straight now. So I hate teams personally that are on streaks as they go into the playoffs. I feel like everyone should want to lose one, whether it's week 17, 16, probably not 18. I feel like I'd like to end on a win, but hate teams that end on huge win streaks, because it almost feels like they're due for a loss and there's even more pressure. And I already gave out the +3.5 or +4 side for the Jags, so I can't do it. I can't take the Texans too, because the Seahawks are on a bye, the other team with a win streak. So I'm going to be on the other side. I'm going to buy the Steelers up to +7. I don't love it. I think that their only real weapon has been Kenneth Gainwell the last couple weeks, since DK was an idiot and got suspended. He will be back now. But you mentioned it. The Texans defense has been number 1 in every stat. They got the best corners in the league, best secondary really as a whole. Their front four is phenomenal. Linebackers are solid. And they have won 9 mostly because of the defense, since they have no run game whatsoever. Woody Marks even missed a few to end the season, and Nico Collins missed the last game and was injured the game before that. So, yeah, their offense is going to be a question mark, and so I'm not sure exactly what we're going to get. I expect Rodgers in potentially what could be his final career game if they did lose to at least put up a fight and go out swinging. So, being at home, I'm going to take the Steelers +7. Interested to see what happens, because we could see Tomlin on the move if they lose. Could see Rodgers retiring. But maybe not. Maybe they're not done yet, and they find a way to get a win at home. I'm not too sure. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be super fun. I'm really looking forward to this first round of the NFL playoffs and the CFP semifinal round. It's going to be pretty fun. So yeah, until next week. I think it'll be next week. Yeah, we'll see you guys for NFL round 2 of the playoffs and the college football championship game. We'll definitely want to cover. So we'll be back shortly with you guys after we see what happens. And best of luck to everybody's favorite teams. And go Ducks. Peace.